Today on the channel, we've got a review about 3 years in the making. We've got Stunning Steve Austin and Flyin Pillman, the Hollywood Blondes, on Way I Got It Figured.
The way I got it figured.
What's up, figure fans? Way I Got It Figured, back with another WWE Elite review. This time we've got a double review. We've got the Hollywood Blondes from WCW back in 92, 93, 94, somewhere in there, between 93 and 94, I guess. They were a tag team that came in. It was sort of my initial introduction to Stunning Steve Austin, who would go on to become my favorite wrestler of all time. And of course, his partner at that time, Brian Pillman, who as the Hollywood Blondes caught fire in WCW, but they ended up splitting them up. Politics, the usual wrestling backstage politics kind of caused them to split up. And that split up eventually led to Steve Austin becoming the superstar we know him as, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So back in the day, I used to watch WCW Thunder on Saturdays with my buddy Dwayne. And it was he who introduced me to the Hollywood Blondes. They were his favorite tag team, and I watched it with him, and I ended up liking them too. So yeah, they worked some programs with Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, and if you want to see any of that stuff, look up Flair for the Gold Hollywood Blondes or Flair for the Old. You get to see some of their promos and how they were definitely pretty entertaining heels in those days. But I got Stunning Steve Austin a long time ago in Walmart. I bought him in Walmart. And at the time, Brian Pillman had already been made, but he was very expensive. But I knew that just by them making Stunning Steve Austin, eventually they would make Brian Pillman. And in Series 116, they finally did. Steve Austin is from Series 81. So, that's a good 80 series is almost, 50, 40. A lot of series went by before they made them. So we're going to get these guys out of the packages and check them out. But first, we will check out their packaging. This is the older WWE Elite packaging with Steve Austin, and the current packaging with Brian Pillman. And looking at Steve, this is sort of the beginning of the True Effects lifelike details. That's Steve on the side. Tail of the tape. Up to that point, his career highlights: WCW Tag Team Champion, United States Champion, World WCW Television Champion. As one half of the WCW Tag Team Champions, the Hollywood Blondes, Stunning Steve was always ready for lights, camera, and action. And then you can see the rest of the wave with Steve Austin. And I didn't get any of these. I just got Steve Austin too. Then you got Flyin Brian Pillman. Here's Flyin Brian Pillman. Got him on the side. In the back. As one half of the WCW Tag Team Champions, the Hollywood Blondes, Flyin Brian Pillman was always ready for lights, camera, action. His career highlights: WCW Tag Team Champion and WCW Light Heavyweight Champion. And I've seen this entire wave in pieces in Walmart's, but the only one I didn't see in Walmart was Brian Pillman. Ended up getting him at a toy show, but he's on Amazon.com. But I ended up getting this one at the Annapolis Toy Show. So we're gonna get these guys out, set them up, and see what we can see. All right, so we've got Stunning Steve and Flyin Brian out their packaging, ready for lights, camera, and action with all their accessories. And I should point out that Brian Pillman, while it's not the first time he's been made in the line, you do get, if you see in here, the person next to him, Lexus King, this is actually Brian Pillman Jr., his son. And, they're doing a lot more Brian Pillman figures. The next one that's going to come out is going to be Heart Foundation Brian Pillman. I think they even have him coming out with crutches from his time in WWE. And I'll most likely get all the versions of Brian Pillman as well in the future. But definitely wanted to point that out. So Steve Austin and Brian Pillman have they're on different bodies. Steve Austin kind of has a Steve Austin body. He's on that. He is an older figure, so of course he has pins, while Brian Pillman doesn't. But I'm sure you could do some action figure surgery. There's channels that do it if you wanted to upgrade Steve to no pins or whatever. I'm not really all that into it. I don't really care either way. I'm just happy to have these guys. Didn't know, how long it was going to take them to do it. But I waited, kept my Steve Austin package until such time as I could do it, and that time is here. They've got their signature Hollywood Blondes vests. Tag Team Championship. Stunning Steve on the back of his vest. Flyin Brian on the back of his vest. So they definitely didn't cheap out in that regard. And they both look pretty awesome. One of these days I'll have a kind of a wrestling display. I currently bid all of my wrestling figures. I don't display them. But my wrestling collection is sort of like a Steve Austin collection with superstars that he interacted with. If you've seen the pattern, that's generally what it is. There are a couple of exceptions that I bought here and there for a couple of other reasons, but that's generally it. And this is, my first introduction to his career and everything, and it's one of my favorite times. I always thought these guys were hilarious together. And when you see any of the Steve Austin figures that come with the gold Figaro chain, if you see him with the Figaro chain, he actually was given that chain. Brian Pillman gave him that chain. So all through his wrestling career, even long after Brian Pillman had passed away, he would wear that chain, you know, on camera all the time. So I guess they were like best friends and everything. And he definitely, even if you never mentioned it, that chain was a very sentimental thing. Even while he was giving Brian Pillman swirlies, he was still wearing the Figaro chain. So just a little trivia note. But yeah, these guys are pretty good, pretty great. Not really a whole lot, they're elite figures, so what the articulation scheme is like. And they've got their WCW tag team belts. World Tag Team Champions. Steve's is a little bit golder, even though, it's the same belt, but it was made years earlier. I'm definitely going to keep these guys pretty much like this, holding their titles. That's what I got to say about that. I would be remiss if I didn't show them with the tape. They both come with the same thing, and they both, do the clicky lights, camera, action. They both come with that. I think Mattel did a pretty awesome job of making sure these guys matched. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. So we're going to move on to final thoughts. Final thoughts on WWE Elite Series 81, Stunning Steve Austin, and WWE Elite Series 116, Flyin Brian Pillman. Waited a long time for these guys, got them, and I am personally pretty happy with them. I'm going to give them both 9s. They're both pretty authentic to the characters. The likenesses are pretty much there. I think Brian Pillman's figures that are coming out later might look even better than him, but I'm not complaining about it. And if I am, then maybe I can swap ahead or something later down the road. But I am pretty happy with what we got. So yeah, this is a quick short one. I know I rambled on about the Hollywood Blondes, but contextually, that's why they're here. It's the context. The figures are WWE Elites, of course. So they're pretty good figures. They're not Ultimate Editions, but they're Elites. They're right in the middle, and they are pretty authentic to the characters. So there you go. Might have to get an Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, younger Ric Flair or whatever, for them to fight. But yeah, that's all I got for this one. So I know I've been taking a few days off, but we are still on schedule with plenty of content coming. I do have Monday Night War, Stone Cold Steve Austin Ultimate Edition to get to. I'll probably do that next week. I do like to spread them out a little bit, but we got more WWE action coming, as well as all the other stuff we generally review on the channel. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. You know, we're definitely trying to grow, get up there, get our voice out there with the other channels. Give you a little bit different perspective. I'm not really the guy to like bash figures or, you know, bash the work of people that make figures. It doesn't mean I'm gonna, you know, just co-sign everything they do either. I don't want to go that far. But, you know, I always wanted to be about the toys, and that's why I buy the toys, because it's about the toys. All right, well, I'm gonna stop rambling. Till next time, everybody stay safe. Happy collecting. See you on the next video. Peace.
The way I got it figured.